Welcome back to CBH4K, and folks, I love XCOM. However, I don't see a sequel for this game coming over the horizon anytime soon. Firaxis hasn't made any statements about making a sequel. And Jake Sullivan himself said that the next game they're working on is a new Civilization game. So unless I win the lottery and buy the XCOM franchise from Firaxis, we're probably not going to get a sequel anytime soon. You there who was just born, you might have died of old age by the time they get around to making a third XCOM game. Well, they technically made it already, but we won't go into that detail. For now, I'm going to check out these XCOM-like games that are in early access. Now, I did cheat a little bit on this list, but don't worry, for the most part, it's true to its word. This guide is for the consumer mostly, but I am hoping the developers of these games can take away some good insight as well that will help improve their games. Also on this list, all the games are going to be on early access. That means they're not quite finished yet and they haven't been given a full release, but you can go to the Steam store and buy them just the same. And one last detail before we get good and proper into the video. Don't forget, these games are not exact copies of XCOM. In fact, they're games in their own right. However, they have a similar feel to them to XCOM. So, without further ado, let's begin.
Continue to keep out of political matters.
Of course, but that's not why the council has gathered here today.
I'm going to be cheating a little bit on this one, but it is coming out. It's not coming out in early access, but it's coming out in a couple of months from now, on May 23rd, in full release. Or so I've been told. Still though, they have a demo out on the Steam page. That's right, the Steam's page. I recommend you take a look at it. It's completely for free, and you'll probably have a good time with it. It's called Crown Wars: The Black Prince. It's published by Nacon and developed by Artifacts Studio. It's basically a medieval version of XCOM. You have a base, a castle or fortress, if you will, that you work on, that you do research for to build new and better equipment for your soldiers, and you train them in different skills and strategies, just like XCOM. Then there's the tactical battles that take place all across France during the 100 Years' War. It basically uses turns and positioning, and you can use cover to block from enemy fire. There's a greater emphasis on melee combat in this title than most other XCOM-like games. Also, it has like close-ups of when you do like a big attack, pausing the game for an instant, showing a close-up of a brutal death blow. A pretty interesting combat system they have in this game. And you're in fighting opposition to this group called the Order. Now the Order looks like they're doing something mystical or magical that is threatening all of France and maybe the world. Now the game didn't give too many missions, but from what I saw, it was pretty good. You can fight with multiple different classes. There is some sort of animal tamer class, and then there is a two-handed warrior class, and then there's a range class. There's so many useful combinations you can put together for a party or a squad, as if you prefer that term, and send it out and do a mission. Now the missions can be a little bit difficult. I think that's because of the demo and they haven't finished hammering things out. I ran into very few bugs with the demo, but again, it's a demo. And I don't know too much about the overall end product because you guessed it, once again, it's a demo. And demos kind of change depending on when they're released and the time that they are made from before they finish with the base game. And there's 2 months away, so they're probably still working on the base game. There's still some bugs that are hammered out. There's still some end game content they need to put in. There's probably some mid game content they still need to put in. Hopefully they're past that point, but I wouldn't be surprised if they delayed it for another month. You know how this goes. Sometimes they announce it sooner than they are actually ready for. And yeah, and then run into a few issues here and there. I think some people have problems playing the demo. I don't know. I didn't have any sort of problem playing the demo. So let's talk about the positives. The positive is it's very similar to the XCOM formula, and because it's so similar to it, it does it so easily and does it so well because, let's be honest, they're kind of copy-paste in many ways. So it's not that difficult for them to come up with new gameplay mechanics because if they just look at XCOM 2 and just copy what worked there and put it into the game. Another positive, there is a memorial system in the game, and I love that about video games like this because it adds a sense of history, because you do lose soldiers in battle, and remembering them in this way helps you sort of look back at the accomplishments, soldiers, and the accomplishments of your campaign. It also looks at the defeats of your campaign because you lost a really good soldier to a bad decision or some unlucky set of RNG that just unfurled over several turns. Some negative things about it, there's not that much diversion from the XCOM formula. That's right, a positive and it's a negative. Because I'm struggling to think of a way that it's different from XCOM so that you can, I don't know, it's not like you're buying a copy of it. The biggest difference I would say is the setting. And the setting has a little bit of supernatural element to it. So there could be some interesting aspects to that. But I don't know. I feel like War Tales, Battle Brothers, and other games like of this ilk that have already sort of cornered the market, I don't know if this game can stand out enough from the crowd to really just be something special and unique unto itself. If I may make a few suggestions, have more unique campaign events. What I mean by unique campaign events is something like that shakes up the, I wouldn't say monotony, but the relative stability of a campaign experience. What I noticed in a lot of games that do well in this sort of sphere is if they have a lot of campaign chaos that really enhances the situation, like it causes you to really rethink it every situation you get into. A very basic example of that would be base defense. Base defense in the very old school XCOM game is what makes it stand out in, well, one of the many things that makes it stand out is because the base defense, it makes it feel like you're fighting a war. Because the aliens are constantly looking for you, constantly trying to figure out where your bases are, and once they figure out where your bases are, they launch an attack on it. Now you think, oh, that just happens once. No, once they find out where you are, they will continuously send alien ship after alien ship to deal with that base. Now there's a number of ways you can deal with it. One way is to destroy the base and put up the base somewhere else new, or basically move all the stuff over there. Or you can just have incredibly powerful base defenses that shoot everything out of the sky. Or you can let them land and you just fight it out in a regular tactical mission. You can have troops stationed there as a regular defensive line against any incursions. That would be a good idea. All those work well. But I think that's what the problem with the game is. I don't feel like it stands out enough. I think you could probably put some extra interesting moments in battles, maybe having reinforcements show up, or having reinforcement for your side show up and help you out, or have something that goes off in the middle of the thing, like peasant riots and peasants starts running around, or you have to start saving peasants in certain battles. Like, it's a good idea to make some things that give the game some flavor, something that makes it different from other games in this genre. Who is this game for? This game is for people who like XCOM, who like War Tales, who like Battle Brothers, who like Iron Oath, who like those medieval games. Play a little bit with a campaign, maybe some of it on a turn-based fun. Like, it's sort of like an RPG, but with XCOM elements mixed in there deep in it. So it's like, kind of like a roguelite, various other things like that. So yeah, I feel like this would do well on the market if it gives itself something a little bit extra to help it out.
Throwing grenade.
Next up is USC Counterforce. It was published by Fire Squid and developed by Angry Cat Studios and Creato49. So, in USC Counterforce, you play a captain who has come to an alien planet to discover what is amiss, as there's certain problems with this mining colony that need to be addressed. Now, you don't know too much about the alien threat, but you do know that there may be something more going on. I find that a very interesting aspect of the story. It has a lot to do with TUs, it has a lot to do with saving of overwatchers and the complex systems of weapons and armor and various other aspects of the game that you control, like ammo management, having to buy ammo for your troops, and then having to swap out special types of ammo. It's a very detail-oriented game. Now, this is the only one in the list that doesn't have a campaign mode up and ready to go, but it does have missions for you to select from, and you have a squad that you can develop and maintain through those missions. It's a good way to test out the tactical aspect of the game. They haven't really talked too much about the campaign. They talked about it here and there, and then they released a big post about talking about it, but they didn't give any sort of final overview of the campaign yet, so you might want to wait for it to give a detailed explanation of the campaign mode. But from what I've gathered so far, they want to have a very, I wouldn't say randomly generated, but a very procedurally generated campaign. But I do find the game overall interesting. At first, I wasn't really sure about it. I saw some videos of it. I was like, I don't know. I don't like the top-down view. But after playing it for a bit and getting into it and seeing it with a demo, by the way, that's a great way to advertise your game's developers, is to have a demo. It gives people an idea of what your game's about, and if someone doesn't like the game, it's like, well, I didn't really like it, but I do know some people who would like it. Like, I wasn't sure about the top-down thing, then I tried it out for a bit, and I was like, yeah, this could be good. A big positive for me in this game is the POV camera that the soldiers all have, and you can see it when you click on the soldier and you basically have them selected. It shows you in the top right corner of what they're looking at. I'm surprised more game developers haven't come up with that. So yeah, that gets a good gold star for me. Another positive is I like the details in it. I like the complexity of getting various pieces of equipment, leveling up the various skills. And there's no like class system per se, but there is like certain skills you can get, certain skills like marksmanship or close combat or bioengineering, all of which played a bit of the tutorial. The tutorial was a solid addition to this game. It feels like I understand the game a little bit better than when I played it on the demo. At the demo, I didn't understand what I was doing, but after playing the tutorial and getting into it, I realized that, yeah, it's a pretty solid game. Now, let's talk about the negatives. One of the big negatives is it's a top-down view, and if you're like me who wasn't really sure about it, it can be a turn-off, but I urge you to give it a chance. The top-down view isn't that bad, and like I said, you get like a POV camera for every soldier, so it adds a little bit of flavor to the situation. Another negative is it might be too detailed. Like, some people get turned off when they have too much details to worry about. Like if they have to worry about the ammo situation, like I mentioned earlier, and they have to keep the ammo stocked. The skill upgrades are nice, but I think some people would like traits or other abilities to be added with their soldiers, just to add some flavor. And another thing, I think the colors are a little too much all over the place. Like there's too many colors on the screen. It's always tricky to get the right information to the player, but at the same time, you don't want to overwhelm them with too much information. Too much information could confuse the player. Too much facts and numbers and graphs would just drive the player nuts. Trust me, I've been on the receiving end of that. It is not fun at all. Do I need a degree to play this game? Like, yeah, it can feel a bit overwhelming. Another negative is that the resolution kept resetting every time I logged out of the game, which was pretty bad during the tutorial. For my computer, the default resolution was the messages blocked my ability to push the buttons on the UI, which was unfortunate because there was moments in the tutorial where it was required to hit a particular button and I couldn't hit it because the message was in the way. So I had to just sit there. I basically had to reboot the computer, and then I had to mess around with the settings. And when I finally got the settings right, they reset once I rebooted the computer again. So it was a very difficult time. It may just be a problem on my end, but it's something to look out for. Also, like I said with the Crown Wars, I think you could do with some more events happening on the campaign. Now, we haven't seen the campaign yet, but I hope they take their time with the campaign, have a good idea with the campaign, put the campaign first. Do not... Who is this game for? This is for the old school XCOM fans. Like the old school XCOM fans. Who are from Laser Squad, who are from the original XCOM. Yeah, I would recommend this for them. This is a solid, I wouldn't say copy, but a solid new interpretation of the gameplay of the old school XCOM games. Hey guys, I just want to remind you, you can hit the like button on this video. It's free, it doesn't cost a thing, and it helps this channel grow. It puts it out on the front page of YouTube, so more people will watch it, and if more people watch it, then more people will like it, and the information will get out there, and I'll be able to make more videos, because I know people like this sort of content, and I know you like this kind of content because you're watching it to this point. So you hit the like button, I win, you win. Alright, and also, don't forget to subscribe. All of it's free, and you can cancel it at any time. Cyber Knight's Flashpoint is both published and developed by the Trace Brothers. Now, if you never played a Trace Brother game before, then you're in for a real treat. They release almost weekly updates. Yeah, you heard right. So I'm actually quite curious to see what else this title. And it's still in early access, and it might be in early access for a while. I think it might be coming. Their goal is to get out of it by the end of this year or the start of next year. But I hope they take their time with it and really flesh some things out with it. So, this is basically a game about you becoming a cyberpunk-esque mercenary who goes around and does various missions, and you lead a squad of people, use information to play information warfare, you get favors so you can help you out in missions and on the campaign map. It's all relatively interesting. So this is a very interesting game overall to me because it's more or less about doing cool heists. Now, various aspects of this game play can be done in stealth, or you can do it in combat. This game kind of reminds me a great deal about Invisible Ink. Now, unfortunately for Invisible Ink, it didn't get a sequel, but I feel like this is an unofficial sequel to Invisible Ink, if you catch my drift. With the Trace Brothers, they still work on their projects even after their full release. That is why I really like Trace Brother products. They put in the effort. So I guess I'll go into positive, because that was a big positive. It's going to be worked on for a very, very long time, so you will definitely get your money worth. Communication with the communities of their games, so it's never like a quiet or like one-sided conversation. If you bring up something to them, they will take a look at it. Another positive is I feel like there's a lot of flexibility. The graphics are solid. The storyline is somewhat intriguing. And even though we have Cyberpunk out already, I do feel like this would probably be it's so different from Cyberpunk. It can exist with Cyberpunk, and at the same time, it can enhance each other. And by Cyberpunk, I mean Cyberpunk 2077. Let's go into the negatives, shall we? Is they haven't finished with base building yet. They haven't really even started updating base building yet. I think they said they were going to start on it sometime in January or November, and they just, you know how crazy the holidays are, and I think they've been working on other things. So I'm more or less going to wait on giving any sort of opinion on the campaign mode till we get an idea of what we're going to be doing at the base. But outside of that, everything else seems to be solid, and there's not too much faffing about with various menus and things like that. It seems very clean and very basic at the moment. So, I don't have that many suggestions for this game, except for maybe work on the base building, but I think that's alright on the itinerary. Once that gets done, I think I might be able to play more of it, but for right now, I don't have that much knowledge of the game, so I can't really give any good suggestions. That would just be a little bit dishonest, and quite frankly, I want this game to be really, really good. And on top of that, I think this game would be great for people who liked Invisible Ink or who had a thing for Cyberpunk and like XCOM, and sort of like a nice combination of those two going forward. I think that would probably do well with those people. Okay. Oh, that was overkill. Xenonauts 2 was published by Hooded Horse and developed by Golden Hawk Interactive. Xenonauts 2 is about you stopping an alien invasion from space. Now, to protect the Earth, you have to build bases, go on missions. Wait a minute. Doesn't this all sound familiar? That's because it's essentially a copy of original XCOM, but it's not really a full-on copy of the original XCOM. Because they do things that are a little bit different. Like, for instance, they have the cleaner missions. The cleaner missions are essentially your opening missions where you deal with the cleaners, a secret organization that are helping the aliens for some reason, and it's your job to discover why. I find this an interesting twist on the game. Adds a nice little bit of spice to it. They also brought back air combat from Xenonauts 1 and the original XCOM. Now, they said they're going to work on air combat a little bit more. The old school XCOM version was okay, but not a lot of people were amazed by it. It was an alright sort of thing that was, and I would say, an extra piece of gameplay. It wasn't a full-on thing, but here I feel like air combat will make I won't say a nice diversion, but a boost to the gameplay. Air combat is a nice addition. I'm certain it will be much better by the time it's released. But for right now, I feel like air combat is still okay. Speaking of positives, I enjoyed the detail-orientedness of the gameplay. There's a lot of things you can do to equip your soldier. You can give them better grenades, different guns, different pieces of armor. For instance, if you want thicker armor, but it'll cost you to use, I think, and it will slow you down, encumber you in other ways. But it will also add you a great deal more protection. Well, not a great deal more protection, but in games like this, any form of protection is almost decent. But let's be honest, you're probably just going to melt right through that armor with a well-placed plasma shot. So, be ready to lose that soldier. There is no sort of set linear path for your soldier. You can more or less make the soldier anything you want. It depends on what their starting stats are or what they grow into over time as they improve in mission by the things they do, by the times they shoot, by the time they move, by the heavy things they carry. All those things increase the soldier's abilities as the time goes on. And you can outfit soldiers any way you want. If you want a soldier with low aim to be a sniper, then go ahead. Put a sniper rifle on them. There's no problem. The game won't fight you for it. If you have a very weak soldier carry a bunch of heavy stuff over time, they will get stronger. And that sniper who has had poor aim, they will become a better shot. So either scenario, or even more scenarios like that, those soldiers will improve and will get better. I would recommend you start with someone who's already a good shot, or somebody who's already strong enough to carry a bunch of stuff, so that you don't have to waste time or waste multiple missions trying to get them good. And at the same time, when they die, it really hurts, because let's be honest, building that sergeant up took weeks of in-game time, but one bullet ends it real quick. In many ways, that's the perfect thing about Xenonauts. That sense of danger is there. And I feel like that's perfect for all XCOM-like games, or games in the genre that are like this. If there's a sense of danger in each mission, especially on Iron Man difficulty, it really adds to the experience. I do like the comfortable appeal of Xenonauts 2. It makes me feel like I'm playing the original XCOM again. I don't see that many problems with this game, except for one. It's not doing any new things with the XCOM formula on the surface, but once you start playing it and getting into it, you start, oh, they do a few new things. There's some shifts here. Suggestions I would have for this game would probably be work on a little bit more on the air combat. The air combat, I feel like it needs some more pieces added to it. I don't know exactly what, but I feel like it needs a couple more pieces added to it before it's complete. Maybe more combat abilities you can do in air combat. Maybe more different scenarios, maybe different equipment. I haven't got that far in the game yet, so I can't tell you. But I do know that what I saw so far was pretty good, and it was a good start. It was a good place to start and build off of. Do I think they need a graphics update on the aerial combat? I'm 50-50 on that. I think they do, but another part of me is like, you know what? If they can just do it like this, I feel like it does well enough. You know what I mean? Like, it does well enough. Another suggestion I would have is if you're chasing the UFO and you catch up to the UFO, it shouldn't start with itself pointing at you. It should start with its back turned to your jet or your jets, because let's be honest, you caught up to it. So it's essentially in a vulnerable position, so you can fly up and just sort of shoot at it behind. Now, if it does a 180 flip around on your fighter jet, okay, then we can start shooting back. Or if they have guns in the back or something like that. Like, there's so many interesting ways you can set it up. If you're on the world map and you send your planes directly at the UFO, but the UFO turns around and comes right at your jets, okay, then the ship should start front facing with the guns that are front facing, pointing directly at your jets, and that should make an interesting clash in the sky. I think this game is for the more old school fans of XCOM. The newer fans might like it too. The Firaxis version might like it, but I'm a Firaxis fan and I like it. So maybe they would like it. It's up in the air. It's sort of like a 50-50, because I could see some of the newer Firaxis fans not liking it. They're saying it's like, well, it doesn't do that much. It's not that very creative, or it doesn't have anything really new going for it. It just seems to be copy-pasted XCOM, but that's not entirely true. One of the things I like about it is that they sent the cleanup missions, so you can have an easier time, making it a little bit easier for new people to come in, as well as all the tooltips. There's tooltips within tooltips. I love that. honestly, newer fans of the XCOM franchise would probably, if you gave it a shot and you stuck with it for a few hours, I would guarantee you'd probably like it. This is why I wish they would release another demo just to get people, I wouldn't say into it, but sort of get them sort of attracted to the idea of playing this game. It's like, give them a little taste of it, a little sample, and maybe you'll get more people who will get into it. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, we'll get rid of that one. Xenogate Initiative is both published and developed by Xenobits. Xenogate Initiative is basically what you get when you combine XCOM with Stargate and with a dash of Evil Genius and Dungeon Keeper. Now, this is the only game in this entire list with no tactical mode, but it does have a base building mode and I would say a strategy map, so to a degree. You can pick which planets to go to when you're activating this Exogate. Well, first you got to use the power to make a connection to that planet in a Xenogate. Then go to that planet, then claim that planet so that you can have access to other planets in that area. But you can never revisit the same planet twice. They fixed that with a new room for your base. And I thought that was a nice addition. It was done in one of the previous updates. A new update is on its way. It's much more of a base defense update where you get better weapons, you can get base defenses, and you get attacked by various monsters from the Exogate. I am excited for that. That should be very interesting. So Exogate, you're the head of a organization that has just discovered the Exogate and is trying to travel the stars with it. But of course, like everything, money is king. So you have to make it profitable. You have to collect various patents from discoveries you make out in exploration or in the strategy map. Once you start collecting samples, you can soon start making patents. And once you start making patents, you can start collecting money. Once you start collecting money, you can start building more into your base. You can start doing more research thanks to all the scientific knowledge you gained. And you can gain more classes, which enables you to do more missions and have better equipment to go on those missions. Both the gameplay loops feed well into each other and make a very interesting and fun experience. But before you do any of that, you're going to have to start digging in your base, making more room for new rooms. You're going to have barracks for your personnel, and you're going to have science labs for your scientists to do the research and to collect samples with. You're going to have a training area to train your troops to fight better in the field and have base defenses. All feed well into each other. Now, while you're on these missions, they will have random or procedural events, if you will, that will kick off, and depending on your skills of the people you send and what choices you make when they ask you for advice of what to do, you will get bonuses for that. You also get penalties for that if you're not careful. Your personnel can get tired, they can get injured in the field, and when they come back, they have to rest up and they have to get medically taken care of so they can go back out in the field. Now, people will quit if they are not having their needs met. Their needs include beds, their needs include food, so you have to focus on that as well if you want to keep a very large base with a lot of operatives under your command. Now, let's head right into the positives. The first really big positive is I enjoy it. I don't know what it is about it exactly, but I feel like the various aspects of the game sort of feed well into each other, and it brings out the part of me that wants to play this more. I've played it regularly. I have not really gotten too far into the game. I want it to be fully released, just like the others, so before I can bury myself in it. And Exogate has a lot of moving parts in it, and a little bit of complications here and there. But honestly, I think Exogate is probably well polished at the moment, but there's still a few things that are missing from it, and I want them to really take their time with this. They say they want to release it this year. I think that might be a little too soon. I think they should wait maybe one more year or so and release it then, because there's a lot of things they should be working on. Most importantly, bug fixes. Every time I hear about a game's release, I hear about all the bugs, I hear about all the problems, I hear about all the issues that come up. Thankfully, I haven't had that many issues with Exogate, but I'm always on the lookout for it. Let's get into the negatives, shall we? One of the most prevalent negatives, I would say, is that the lack of tactical mode. There's nothing for you to do at base except wait, but like I said in my Evil Genius 2 review, which you can find on my channel, sitting at base and doing nothing isn't so bad, so long as you have interesting things to do. Like, for instance, if you're building new rooms or scheduling up who is going to be on what team. I like the fact that you can name the teams. That's a nice addition. I'm going to put that in the positive. I really enjoyed the fact that you can name the teams. Sitting at the base and having nothing to do can happen, and there's no fast forward button. There is not a single fast forward button on this. There's only pause and play. There's only pause and play. Now, that might not be so bad, but after a while, you want to go faster because you're just waiting for things to get done, and you're just sitting there like, oh, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Plus, you're also waiting for them on the mission to contact you and ask for new things to do, and also you're waiting for new hires to send you their applications. It's a whole thing you're just sitting on, and a fast forward button would help out a great deal. You can still pause it when relevant information kicks off, but I think the developers would be well advised into just having a fast forward button. I think you should give out more various forms of equipment, like armor, weapons, have more defenses or more weapons and more tacticals you can use in base defense. Also, I don't know if they have any form of permadeath, but I think that would add a little bit extra to the game. You can have in under your personnel, you're missing in action, or your memorial wall in that section of the gameplay overview, so you can keep track of who has been killed, who has been wiped out. Did you lose an entire squad on a mission? Did a bunch of people get killed off in a base raid? All those would be very, very useful. It would make the game feel more alive. It would make it feel much more impactful when you have a moment to just reflect on what you've lost. Maybe you lost a very special elite squad member, or maybe you've gained this low-level nobody who was just terrible at everything, but gradually they became so good and so skilled at everything that they became the ace of the base, and they sort of became Space Rambo, taking out hordes and hordes of enemies by themselves. Those are the stories that people come for when you hear the words XCOM. They arrive just like XCOM. Oh, cool! I can't wait to make my own personal Rambo. I can't wait to make my own personal war hero. I can't wait to have my own personal war hero die, or have that rookie get blown up because he did not know how to prime the mine. This game is for people who, like I said, who are into the base building, layer building scene, and like a little bit of XCOM mixed into it. And also, we're fans of Stargate. If you're a fan of Stargate and you wanted to play a little bit of the base management part, then this is the game for you. Now, you're probably wondering what other XCOM-like games are out there right now that I could look at. Well, I'm so glad you asked that question. I've put those videos in the description if you want to see more XCOM-like games. But moreover, if you're interested in XCOM games, then may I suggest a playlist of various XCOM games that I've played over the years on this channel. Go ahead and click on one of those and go crazy. But one more thing before you all get out of here. Put what you want covered in the next XCOM-like games video in the comment section. Thanks. That's much appreciated. I'll see you guys in the next one. shoot you with the gun here. Okay, we can take a knee. Just take a knee.